Hello again, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to talk to you about Codependence Revisited. Now, you'll notice if you scroll back through the videos that I did a video on codependence some years ago, but I just want to flesh out some other aspects of codependence today. So what made me think of it was like about 40 years ago, um, well, just less than 40 years ago, I was in my late 30s at the time, and I was going through a difficult divorce, and I had been married for 18 years and had 3 children, and living away. You can probably hear that from my accent that I'm Irish. I was living in the UK, where I'm still living in the UK, but at the time, all the trouble was going on in Belfast, so I couldn't go back to Belfast because I had 3 children who were born in this country, and I couldn't bring them to all that trouble that was going on. So I had a lot going on, and I had very few resources, and I guess you could say I was in a bit of a dip, a big dip, a chasm even at that time, scratching my head and thinking, how did I ever get to be here in my life? How did this happen that I'm on my own, away from family, and living on my own with 3 children that I am responsible for? How did that happen? Just kind of, it just seemed surreal somehow. Now, to the outside world at the time, and some of you may identify with this, to the outside world, I appeared quite high functioning, that I was managing, that I was a strong person, that I was keeping all my plates spinning. I had no money, and I was worrying because it looked as if I was going to lose my home as well. There was a lot of legal stuff going on around that. And it was difficult times here in the UK at that time. We had Mrs. Thatcher was in power, and interest rates were up at 18%. And it was really a difficult time, and a very difficult time to be a single parent. So my confidence was at an all-time low. And so I was kind of wondering, how am I ever going to manage? And like I say, to the outside world, it looked as if I was managing quite well. It looked as if I was confident and competent. And in some ways I was, but inside myself, I felt like a frightened child all the time. And one of the things about codependence is that that's kind of how you feel most of the time. Now, I didn't understand then what codependence was, but what I did, I had signed up because there were grants available for mature students, providing you passed some criteria, which I did do. I got myself onto a degree course and a professional training in qualification for social work. But it was a proper professional training. So all of that was over a 4-year period. And so it seemed to me that that was a good way to get myself in a better position for moving on and rebuilding my life, so that I could get a professional wage and be able to keep the roof over my head and my children's head. So that was the thinking. But anyway, in the course of this professional training and degree course, I was learning a lot, and I took to it like a duck to water. I just absolutely soaked it up. I loved it, and at the same time at the university, where I was studying, there was a counselling service, so I had access to therapy as well, which was great. And through the therapy and the training, I came to understand what codependence was. And it was like a light bulb going off in my head, because I understood the answer to my question, how did I get into this situation? I got into the situation, I realized, because I was very codependent, and actually so was my ex-partner. Now, a very basic definition of codependence is when your dependency needs and your bonding with your mother has not been completed. And so that I realized was the case for me. And very, very briefly, I was born illegitimately. I was informally fostered. My mother was supposed to come back to get me, but she never did. And so I was kind of loosely left with a family who were not my parents and didn't take on the role of parenting. They took on a role of caretaking, and they took care of me, but they were still taking care of me 21 years later. So, you know, but I grew up in that uncertainty and without kind of designated parents. And so in many ways, and the disruption of any baby being left by its mother and her not coming back, and without a kind of a container for me, it meant that at a psychological and emotional level, I had developmental gaps. Now, I was starting to understand why, because the effects of that early experience is uh, that it leaves you needy and clingy, like a newborn baby needs and craves the closeness of its mother. People with those kind of early deficits, you know, a disruption in their bonding, whether they're adopted, fostered, hospitalized, if they were unwanted, if they were in special care baby unit, you know, any of those things, if they were sent off to boarding school even, those things that disrupt the relationship with the mother in the early life has that effect of leaving you codependent. In other words, your dependency needs have not been met, and you're still looking to have them met in a relationship, but it leaves you clingy and needy and fearful of being abandoned and rejected. So, and very insecure attachment. The trouble is that you tend to gravitate to someone who will probably be counter-dependent. And that means they hold you at arm's length, they won't allow you to get close, and they replicate the feeling that is familiar to you of longing and yearning for closeness and fearing abandonment and rejection. So that is, I just wanted to go over again for new subscribers, that is the root of codependency, and it plays havoc in your intimate relationships. So if you want to know more about these things, please click subscribe and click like as well if you want more of these videos. So the way through that codependency is to really, your mother is not going to come back and reparent you. The way to do that is for you to reparent yourself. So I have some videos on reparenting. I also have videos on counterdependency, and I have something more to say about that, because in your attempts to rebalance your codependency, often people tip into codependency without realizing it. So subscribe now and, you know, be notified of the other videos. But for sure, before you move into another relationship, or before you think about moving into another relationship, you really need to fill the developmental gap that was there from when you were young. So you heal that that neediness and that clinginess, because you'll only repeat it in another relationship, and or you'll gravitate to somebody who will actually keep that feeling of, you know, like you're being abandoned. They'll keep that going. So I hope that helps to helps you to understand yourself a bit better and what needs to happen. And of course, your craving for closeness would, what for a lot of you, will get you bounced into another relationship. Don't do it. Take time to to, you know, to sort these things out, and and keep a journal, like I've suggested in other videos. But look, I'm going to finish now, so do subscribe and be notified of my video on counterdependence. So all the best in rebuilding your life. Bye for now.